podcast. But you and I talked a little bit this week, and we'll end it here with a final word here, and that is that the Colts are talking to Phillip Rivers, but I haven't seen any progress there. But you also mentioned Zach Elliott. Man, to the Colts, there's a franchise quarterback for you. Or the Colts got to move on past Jacoby Brissett. I appreciate his service to our team, but we gotta realize that he's not our long-term franchise quarterback with the Indianapolis Colts. So, what are your thoughts with the Colts, and what do they do?
I think for me, Phillip Rivers kind of makes sense. I think he's got 2 or 3 good years left. That gives the Colts time to settle down here. After Andrew Luck retired. Get some wins under the belt, probably a playoff runs with Phillip Rivers, honestly, because I think he's still a pretty good quarterback. It definitely is a great fantasy quarterback, even if the Chargers were never all that great. But I think he's got 2 or 3 years left in him, and that gives the Colts a couple of years to look out for the college guys. Trevor Lawrence has 1 more year at Clemson still. We talked about Tua earlier. My gut feeling says that Tua actually stays because he's injured. He can't work out for these teams the way he's going to want to work out. That's going to push him further and further down the draft, probably 2nd, 3rd, 4th round right now. So I think he stays and takes that chance, that risk on not getting hurt again next year. But he can't work out for these teams this year now because of his injury, the way he's going to want to work out. So that's going to knock it down the draft. So now you might have Trevor Lawrence and Tua also in college next year, and if you bring in Rivers for a couple of years, draft one of those guys possibly, they could sit behind Rivers for a year.
No, you're absolutely right. So we'll see what happens if the talks continue with Phillip Rivers from the San Diego Chargers. Rick Riggin, our official college football contributor, thank you for helping us take a look back in 2019, sir, and we'll be catching up with you again soon, sir. Where can people find your work and masterpieces?
I have the work or masterpieces. You just catch my sarcasm on Twitter here and there, at Riggin_Rick.
All right, buddy. We'll talk with you soon.
See you, buddy. Cheers.
Cheers. Rick Riggin, our official college football contributor, been around the show for many years. We'll be right back with Ed Kracz, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles, SI.com, and also Tony Donahue from the Tony D podcast. We're looking back at 2019 continue, as well as the wild card weekend right here on the Balance Radio Network.
National Guard is a reserve component of the United States Air Force and serves alongside active-duty Air Force members in times of a national crisis. In addition, the Air Guard serves the state and local community in a wide range of capacities. The reason people join the Air Guard is as diverse as our members and includes such reasons as a deep desire to serve their country, money for college, travel, new job skills, and the pride that goes along with belonging to the greatest military organization in the world. I joined because I felt a calling to serve my country, but I didn't want to be far away from my family, so the Indiana Air National Guard was a perfect fit for me. With over 95 different career opportunities to choose from and 100% paid college tuition to any state-funded college, why not give us a call? Call 1-800-841-3103 or visit online at goang.com to find out more. Again, that's 1-800-841-3103. The Air National Guard, guarding America, defending freedom.
I can't believe it. I've been playing 4-on-4 with a barbershop quartet.
Pass the ball, pass the rock. We're open, just pass the ball.
Nah, I can't believe how easy it was to save hundreds of dollars on my car insurance with Geico. Yeah.
Believe it, Geico could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Morning face. You get it when you don't sleep well. This is what happened to Linda.
Morning, guys.
Good morning. Ah, what is that thing?
It's me, Linda.
Oh my God, it talks! Run!
No, it's me.
hungry. Save the children. Save them. Stay back. I've got mace.
Ow, they're right in my eyes.
Quit moving.
It's called beauty sleep for a reason. And there's never been a better time to get some.
Get 20% off IKEA Sultan mattresses. IKEA, love your home.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, welcome back to the Balance. My name is Tom Buckman, Presidente. 1 hour in the books. Thank you, Matthew Embury, WSBT up in South Bend, our official IndyCar contributor, also with the flagship station of Notre Dame football, taking a look back at IndyCar in 2019. This is what we're doing today. We're taking a look back at 2019, our first show of 2020. The Roaring 20s are back. And also Rick Riggin, our official college football contributor, joined us to take a look back at just some of the highlights of college football in 2019 and a look at the upcoming championship between LSU and Clemson. Joining us now, though, is two of the most esteemed people for my look back at 2019, Tony Donahue, the Tony D Podcast, and Ed Kracz, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles, SI.com, and our official NFL contributor to look back at more college football, more look back at 2019, and a wild card weekend. We'll start with you, Tony. How are you, sir? Happy New Year to you.
Good, man. Hey, thanks for having me on. Welcome to, like you mentioned, the Roaring 20s, a new decade.
Hey, you know what? We'll get into this in just a minute, but I hear you've got some good betting options now that betting is legal here in Indiana. So we'll get your thoughts on that here in just a second. Ed Kracz, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles, SI.com, getting ready for a big game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are still in the hunt, and, man, we talked about it at the beginning of the season, Ed. We said that the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl again. You guys still have hope, but much more hope than the Indianapolis Colts. Happy New Year to you, sir.
Happy New Year, Tom. Thanks for having me on again. Lot to look back on. Lot to look back on in 2019, and busy weekend here, wild card weekend for 4 games. It should be very interesting.
Okay, well, let's start taking a look back at 2019. I'm going to just kind of give you creative control here, Tony. But as we look back at 2019 in sports, as far as the NFL and college or basketball, what comes to mind? Maybe your top 1, 2, or 3 stories that come to mind in 2019. Obviously, to me, one of the biggest stories of 2019 was the story of Tiger Woods. Also, the story of Joe Gibbs Racing winning in a NASCAR championship. Also, the story of Roger Penske buying the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the IndyCar Racing League. But feel free to add to my list, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I think Andrew Luck's retirement at the beginning of the season, and their last preseason home game, it comes out right after.
That. I tried to forget that, Tony. You weren't supposed to.
I think the biggest. I know we're only a couple days in, but how about the start of 2020? The Cowboys finally wake up, and Jason Garrett is finally dismissed by the Cowboys, which seems like it should have happened 10 years ago. But
is that official?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that looks like that's official.
I didn't hear it was official yet. I saw Adam Schefter's tweets. I saw the breakdown happened. Ed, do you know, is that official?
I haven't seen anything from the Cowboys. I haven't seen anything from the Cowboys making that official, but I mean, it is out there that he was asked to leave or wasn't coming back. But I haven't seen any comments publicly from Garrett. I haven't seen Jerry Jones go on any radio stations and announce that. So, I think it's official, but I just haven't heard anything from the people that are supposed to officially announce these things. But I can't believe that he's not back. And
Go ahead, Tony. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, buddy.
No, you're good. I mean, just the huge mania that was Zion Williamson, Kyler Murray, some of the hype that was there. You look at some of the other big stories. You go back to the NCAA tournament, just the way that went down. It was so good with Purdue making that late run, Virginia winning the title, Dame Lillard's shot in the playoffs, LeBron to the Lakers. There was just so many different stories that happened that I think that were massive. You go back to the Super Bowl, some of the, like you said, Tiger Woods. But I think the Raptors winning an NBA championship has to be mentioned. I mean, that's one of the biggest stories of the year because everybody thought going in, it's going to be the Warriors again, it's going to be the Warriors again. And then that doesn't happen. LeBron misses the playoffs, and Kawhi Leonard takes a championship to the Raptors. And then the drama that preceded that with him bolting to go to the Clippers. The NBA free agency was crazy this summer. So, yeah, there was a lot of things that were going on. Obviously, the Nationals, winning was pretty mega. So, overall, I think it was a pretty solid 2019 when it comes to sports.
No, you're absolutely right, and so many stories. It's like, wait, which one do we pick? Ed Kracz, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles, SI.com, our official NFL contributor. I do want to get to this big wild card weekend. I do want to talk with you a little bit about this big matchup between the Eagles and the Seahawks. But first, take a look back at 2019. Anything you want to add to the list? I still think Tiger Woods is the biggest story of 2019.
Yeah, I like that Tiger Woods story too. That was, kind of came from out of nowhere and won the Masters. But I mean, Tony mentions the Raptors. I mean, you could put the St. Louis Blues in there too, in the NHL, winning the Stanley Cup, first time in that franchise's history. There's, which is a big accomplishment. I mean, you look at the NFL. I think there's 12 teams that have never won a Super Bowl, and you can really feel for those teams, especially here in Philadelphia, where it took the Eagles forever to win a Super Bowl, and how long the fans have to sit and suffer and wait for that to happen. And they've been doing that in St. Louis for a very long time. So when the Blues won the Stanley Cup, that was huge. And I think the Antonio Brown story was kind of a big story too. Everything that went down with that. That was huge to start the NFL season, and here we are at the end of the season, and Antonio Brown is still not with the team yet. So, that was also a big story. But the Raptors was a big story, especially when you consider they beat the 76ers in a Game 7 on some circus shot from Kawhi Leonard in the corner. Otherwise, maybe the Sixers win that game and they go on and maybe they're the champs, but who knows? But the Raptors showed a lot of resolve winning the NBA title. That's a big story too. And then, like Tony said, Andrew Luck retiring. That's a big story. And that came from out of nowhere. So there were plenty of big stories. It feels like so many big stories that happened in just a year's time, let alone a decade. I've seen even, people putting their all-decade teams out there. I've been asked about, the best team nationally, in the decade. And but it seems like this past year has been filled with big stories.
Well, absolutely. And, the Andrew Luck retirement, I think everybody's going to be like, I remember where I was at when that happened. Well, true story. I was at the Bears preseason game. I think I've told this story before. Me and our social media director, Melissa, was down at the Bears game. We had actually left, and I know both of you guys are kind of familiar with Lucas Oil, but we had left, and we were trying to catch our Uber, and they couldn't find us because they have a big thing every year here where it's thousands of bikers come into downtown Indianapolis. It's a charity thing. I mean, all over the nation, thousands of bikers come into the nation. And so they couldn't get up by Lucas Oil. So we walked up by the Slippery Noodle, which you and I, Ed, have been there before. But that's a whole nother story that we could get into offline. But you remember the Slippery Noodle. I know you do. So we walked down there to the Slippery Noodle. That was a night, wasn't it? We walked down to the Slippery Noodle, and I was just looking for my Uber guy, and two guys walked by in Bears jersey. They say, "Oh, Andrew Luck just retired." We thought, just Bear talk, whatever. And then my phone started going ding, 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 ding. Melissa's phone was like ding, ding, ding. What? And then Adam Schefter had broken the story. First of all, we said that